The first thing Lucas saw when he pushed open the mansion door was not his wife. It was Helen. She came running from the hallway like a shadow that had learned how to sprint. Her eyes were wide, shiny, and full of fear. Before Lucas could even say, "I'm home," Helen grabbed his wrist with one hand and pressed the other hand over his mouth, hard. Her palm smelled like soap and kitchen onions. Lucas froze. Helen's fingers trembled as she shook her head, begging him without words. Then she leaned close to his ear and whispered, so softly he almost did not hear it. "Sir, shut up. Don't talk. Just listen." Lucas's heart kicked in his chest. For a second he thought maybe someone had broken into the house. Maybe there was a robber, maybe a stranger was hiding inside. But then he heard a familiar voice. Maya, his wife. It was coming from the kitchen area, just around the corner where the walls carried sound like secrets. Maya was laughing. Not her normal laugh. This laugh was low, cold, and sharp, like someone smiling while holding a knife behind their back. Lucas's eyes met Helen's. Helen looked like she wanted to cry. She slowly removed her hand from his mouth, but she kept a tight grip on his arm, like she was afraid he might rush in. Lucas leaned his head slightly, listening, and then he heard the words that made the air feel heavy. "Yes, yes, that's the plan," Maya said, speaking into her phone. "You bad boys are not coming for a small job. This is big money. I want him gone." Lucas's stomach turned. His brain tried to reject it, like it was a dream that did not make sense. Gone? Who? He already knew the answer. Maya continued, her voice calm, as if she was ordering food. "He will be home any minute," she said. "He always enters through the main door, the living room first. That's where it will happen." Lucas felt his throat get tight. His hands started to sweat. Helen's grip tightened. Lucas did not move. He did not breathe loudly. He just stood there, like a statue made of shock. Maya went on, "Don't worry. I have everything planned. After it happens, it will look like an accident. And the police will not suspect me. I am his wife. I will cry. I will wear black. I will act weak." Then she laughed again. Lucas's eyes widened even more. His thoughts raced. "My wife wants to kill me. My wife is hiring criminals. My wife is speaking like she is buying a bag, not ending a life." Helen's face was pale. Her lips were pressed together, like she was trying to stop herself from making a sound. Lucas's phone was in his pocket. His mind moved fast, even while his heart was shaking. Slowly, carefully, Lucas pulled out his phone. Helen watched him, confused for half a second, until he lifted one finger to his lips, telling her to stay silent. Lucas opened his phone screen. He pressed the record button. He held the phone slightly behind the angle of his body so Maya would not see it if she stepped out. Maya's voice entered the phone clearly. "Make sure you come with what you need," she said. "This is not a joke. If you fail, you won't get paid. If you do it well, you will enjoy." Lucas's fingers went cold around the phone. He wanted to burst into the kitchen and shout, "Maya, what are you saying?" But Helen shook her head quickly, almost like she could read his thoughts. Lucas swallowed hard. His eyes scanned the living room. The mansion looked beautiful and calm, like nothing bad could happen there. The marble floor was clean enough to reflect light. The big curtains were still. The tall ceiling made every sound feel small. Yet right there, in that peaceful house, someone was planning murder like it was a normal plan. Lucas gently stepped forward. Helen stayed close behind him, like a quiet guard. Maya's voice continued. "After he is gone," she said, "everything becomes mine. The companies, the houses, the accounts. I will finally be free. I'm tired of pretending." Lucas's chest burned. 15 years. That was how long he had been married to Maya. 15 years of building a life, building a home, trusting her with his name, his heart, his future. And now, she was speaking like he was a problem to erase. Lucas slowly walked to the big sofa in the living room. He sat down, keeping his face normal, even though his body wanted to shake. He placed his phone beside him, still recording. Then he did something only a man trained by business pressure could do. He breathed in. He forced his face into calm. He waited. Because he knew something important. If Maya walked out and saw him looking scared, she would know he heard everything. And if she knew that, Lucas did not even want to imagine what she might do next. So he sat like a man relaxing after a long day, even though his heart was screaming. Behind him, Helen stood near the wall, small and quiet, her hands clasped tight. Lucas glanced at the hallway leading to the kitchen, then, without making it obvious, he picked up his second phone, his private phone that only a few people knew about. His fingers moved quickly. He sent an emergency message to a police contact he had helped years ago through a charity project. Emergency, I am in danger. Come to my house now, quietly. Do not alert anyone inside. He added his address. He sent it. His breath came out slowly, then he leaned back on the sofa, pretending to scroll, pretending to be normal. Time slowed down. Every second felt long. In the kitchen, Maya's voice lowered as if she was trying to make the deal final. So how soon can you get here? She asked. Because he might come in at any moment. Lucas's eyes stayed on the TV screen, but he wasn't watching. His mind was doing one thing only: survive. A few moments later, Maya said, "Good, hurry, I'll call you again." Then there was silence. Lucas's body stiffened. Helen's eyes widened. Footsteps began. Someone was walking out of the kitchen. Maya was coming. Lucas kept his face steady. He acted like a man who had just come home, like he had no idea the world had changed in 1 minute. Maya stepped into the living room, holding a glass cup in her hand. She was beautiful as always. Smooth skin, neat hair, a soft robe that looked expensive. But Lucas did not see beauty anymore. He saw danger. Maya smiled when she saw him. "Oh, you're back early," she said, walking closer. "How was your day?" Lucas forced a small smile. "It was fine," he said calmly, even though his voice wanted to crack. Maya's eyes moved behind him. She noticed Helen standing near the wall. Maya's smile dropped for a second. "Helen," Maya said sharply, "why are you standing like that?" "Go and finish your work." Helen bowed her head. "Yes, Ma," she said softly. But before Helen could move, Lucas spoke again, still calm, still acting. "Let her be," Lucas said. "I'm tired. I just want to rest." Maya blinked, surprised. She recovered fast and smiled again, but Lucas could see something in her eyes. A quick flash, like a person checking a plan in their head. Maya sat on the other sofa, crossing her legs. "You look quiet," she said, studying him. "Is anything wrong?" Lucas shook his head gently. "No, I'm just thinking." Maya nodded slowly. Then she stood up and walked toward the kitchen again. "I made something for you," she said over her shoulder. "A drink. I'll bring it." Lucas's blood ran cold. A drink, his hands clenched slightly on the sofa. Helen, still near the wall, looked at him with fear again. As if she was silently screaming, "Don't drink it." Lucas's phone was still recording. He slid it quietly into his pocket and stopped the recording. He had enough. He had proof. Now he needed help. From far away, outside the mansion walls, Lucas heard a sound. Not inside. Outside. A faint siren. Then another. Getting closer. Maya was still in the kitchen. Lucas sat up slowly, his eyes fixed on the doorway. The sirens grew louder. And then there was a hard knock on the front gate. Loud, urgent, like the sound of truth arriving. Lucas stood up, Helen's face filled with relief and fear at the same time, and from the kitchen, Maya's voice called out, sharp and confused, "Who is that?" Lucas took one step toward the door, but then Maya rushed into the living room with the glass in her hand, her eyes wide, her smile gone. And the sirens outside grew so loud they shook the calm of the mansion. Lucas reached for the door handle as the police shouted from outside, "Open up! Police!" But Maya moved fast, blocking his path with the drink in her hand, her voice trembling as she whispered, "Lucas, what is going on?" The knock came again, louder, stronger. "Police, open the gate now." Maya froze in the middle of the living room, the glass cup shaking slightly in her hand. The liquid inside rippled, almost spilling. Lucas did not answer her question. Instead, he looked straight into her eyes, calm, cold, different. "Put the drink down," Lucas said quietly. Maya laughed nervously. "What is wrong with you? Why are the police here?" Lucas stepped past her. She tried to grab his arm, but he moved faster. "Lucas," she said sharply, "where are you going?" To open my gate, he replied. Helen stood near the wall, her hands shaking. She watched Lucas walk to the front door like a man walking toward a storm he was no longer afraid of. Lucas opened the door. Two police officers stood outside with serious faces. Behind them were two more officers and a police van. "Sir," one of the officers said, "we received an emergency alert from this address." Lucas nodded. "Yes, I sent it." Maya rushed forward. "Officer, there must be a mistake," she said quickly. "My husband is tired. He just got home." The officer looked at Lucas. "Sir, are you in danger?" Lucas took a deep breath. "Yes," he said. "I am." Maya gasped. "Lucas, why are you lying?" Lucas turned to the officer. "Please come inside." The police stepped into the mansion. The house that once felt safe now felt like a courtroom. Maya's face changed. Her eyes darted from the police to Lucas to Helen. "Lucas, what is this nonsense?" she asked, her voice rising. "Are you trying to embarrass me?" Lucas did not answer. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. "Officer," Lucas said, "I have a recording." Maya's eyes widened. "What recording?" she snapped. Lucas pressed play. Maya's own voice filled the living room, clear, sharp, cold. "I want him gone." Maya screamed. "Stop it. That's not—" The officer raised his hand. "Madam, please be quiet." The recording continued. "He will be home any minute. I have everything planned." Maya's knees weakened. She dropped the glass. It shattered on the marble floor. "No, no. This is not what it sounds like," Maya cried. The officers looked at each other. "Madam," the lead officer said, "you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder." Maya screamed. She fell to the floor, grabbing Lucas's legs. "Lucas, please," she begged. "It was just words. I was angry. I didn't mean it." Lucas looked down at her. His heart felt heavy, but his voice stayed steady. "You said my life was a problem," he replied, "and you tried to solve it." The officers pulled Maya up. She struggled. She shouted. She cried. "I am your wife," she screamed. "You cannot do this to me." Lucas did not move. Helen covered her mouth, tears rolling down her face. Maya was dragged out of the mansion, screaming Lucas's name as neighbors gathered outside, shocked. The gate closed behind her. The house fell silent. Lucas sat down slowly on the sofa. His legs felt weak now that the danger had passed. Helen approached him carefully. "Sir," she said softly. Lucas looked at her. For the first time, he truly saw her, not just as a maid, but as the person who had saved his life. "Thank you," Lucas said quietly. "If not for you—" Helen shook her head. "I was just doing what was right." Lucas nodded, but inside, he knew something had changed forever. The next morning, the news spread fast. Billionaire CEO's wife arrested in murder plot. Cameras followed Lucas as he arrived at court. Maya arrived in handcuffs, her face pale, her hair messy. She avoided Lucas's eyes. The courtroom was silent as the judge entered. The prosecutor stood. "Your Honor," he said, "we will present evidence of a recorded phone call." Maya looked up sharply. The recording played again. Her voice echoed through the courtroom. Every word cut deep. Maya shook her head, tears pouring down her face. When the recording ended, the judge spoke calmly. "Maya Lucas, you are guilty of conspiracy to commit murder." Maya screamed, "No, please." The gavel hit the table. "Sentenced," the judge said. Maya collapsed as officers took her away. She looked at Lucas one last time. Lucas did not smile. He did not cry. He only watched. Outside the court, reporters shouted questions. Lucas ignored them. He returned home quietly. That night, the mansion felt empty. Too quiet. Helen brought him dinner. "Sir," she said gently, "you should eat." Lucas nodded. As days passed, Helen became more than a maid. She helped Lucas organize his life again. She listened when he spoke. She worked hard. Lucas noticed something else too. Helen was smart, very smart. She helped him with documents. She gave ideas. She solved problems quickly. One evening, Lucas called her into his office. "Helen," he said, "I want you to be my secretary." Helen's eyes widened. "Me, sir?" "Yes," Lucas said. "You deserve it." Helen accepted. 2 years passed. Lucas and Helen worked closely. They laughed. They trusted each other. And slowly, something deeper grew. One evening, Lucas stood in his office holding a small box. "Helen," he said softly, "will you marry me?" Helen gasped. Tears filled her eyes. "Yes," she whispered. The wedding news spread fast, but somewhere else, in a small prison room. Maya sat alone. She heard the news, and something dark entered her heart. She stared at a small bottle in her hand, and made a choice she could never take back. As Maya collapsed on the cold prison floor, gasping for air, a guard screamed for help. While miles away, Lucas smiled for the first time in years, unaware that tragedy was rushing toward him again. The first sound Maya heard was not pain, it was shouting. "Help! She's not breathing!" The prison room spun as darkness closed in. Maya's body felt heavy, like it was sinking into deep water. The small bottle slipped from her hand and rolled across the cold floor. Then everything went black. Lucas was in his office when the call came. He had just finished signing wedding plans. The guest list was ready. The hall was booked. Helen had chosen simple white flowers because she liked peace, not noise. Lucas's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something told him not to. "Hello?" he answered. "Mr. Lucas," a serious voice said, "this is Central Hospital. We need to speak with you urgently." Lucas's heart jumped. "What is it?" "There has been an emergency involving your wife." Lucas went silent. "My wife?" he repeated slowly. "Yes. Maya Lucas," the voice said. "She was rushed here from the prison. It appears she tried to harm herself." Lucas leaned back in his chair. The room felt too quiet, too empty. "I see," he said after a long pause. "She needs surgery," the voice continued, "and we need approval for payment immediately." Lucas closed his eyes. For a moment, old memories rushed in, laughing together, planning trips, holding hands at events. Then another memory came. Her voice. "I want him gone." Lucas opened his eyes. "How much?" he asked. The nurse told him. Lucas did not argue. "I'll handle it," he said. "Do everything you can." He ended the call and sat still. Helen stood at the door, having heard part of the conversation. "Sir, what happened?" she asked gently. Lucas stood up. "Maya is in the hospital," he said. "She tried to end her life." Helen covered her mouth. "Oh no." "I need to go there," Lucas said. Helen hesitated. "Sir, are you sure?" Lucas nodded. "Yes." The hospital smelled like medicine and fear. Machines beeped softly. Nurses walked fast. Lucas followed a nurse to a quiet room. "She's in surgery," the nurse said. Lucas nodded and sat down. Time moved slowly. Every minute felt long. He thought about anger. He thought about justice. He thought about forgiveness. After hours, a doctor came out. "She survived," the doctor said. "The surgery was successful." Lucas exhaled. "Thank you," he said. "You saved her life by approving the treatment," the doctor added. Lucas nodded again. He stayed. When Maya finally woke up, her eyes were weak. Her face was pale. She turned her head slowly and saw Lucas. Her eyes filled with tears. "You," she whispered, "why are you here?" Lucas stood beside her bed. "Because you're alive," he said. Tears rolled down Maya's face. "I wanted everything to stop," she cried. "I couldn't bear the shame. The prison, the news, your wedding." Lucas said nothing. "Why did you save me?" Maya asked. "After everything I did." Lucas looked at her calmly. "Maya," he said, "you don't need to die to escape the result of your actions." She sobbed harder. "I forgive you," Lucas continued, "but you will live and face what you caused." Maya shook her head, crying. "I was greedy," she whispered. "I lost everything." Lucas turned to leave. "Maya," he said without looking back, "I hope others learn from your mistake." News of Maya's survival spread. Some people praised Lucas. Some questioned him. Lucas did not explain himself. He returned home. Helen was waiting. "Is she okay?" Helen asked. "She survived," Lucas said. Helen nodded slowly. "I'm glad she's alive," she said honestly. Lucas looked at her with respect. Days passed. Wedding preparations continued, the mansion filled with planners, designers, and music samples. But something felt off. Lucas noticed it first. His security team reported strange calls, unknown numbers, silent lines. Then Helen noticed something too. A black car parked outside the gate for too long. Watching. One night, Lucas received a message. Unknown number, you destroyed her life. Now we will destroy yours. Lucas stared at the screen. His heart tightened. He showed Helen. Her face went pale. Sir, who would send this? Lucas thought of Maya's phone call. The bad boys, the men she tried to hire. Maybe not all of them disappeared. Lucas called his security head immediately. Double everything, he ordered. No mistakes. That night, Lucas stood at the balcony, watching the city lights. Helen joined him. Do you regret forgiving her? Helen asked softly. Lucas shook his head. No, he said, but forgiveness doesn't stop danger. Suddenly, a loud crash came from the gate. Alarms blared. Security shouted. Helen screamed. Lucas pulled her close. Outside, armed men were forcing their way in, and one voice shouted from the darkness, "Where is Lucas?" As gunshots echoed through the night and the mansion lights went out, Lucas realized the past he thought was buried had come back, stronger, angrier, and closer than ever. The lights went out completely. The mansion fell into darkness, broken only by the red blinking of the security alarm and the loud pounding of boots on metal. "Down, sir, get down!" one of the security men shouted. Lucas pulled Helen close to him and dropped behind the marble pillar near the staircase. Helen's body shook as she clung to his arm. Gunshots cracked through the night. Glass shattered. A window exploded somewhere in the living room. Helen screamed, but Lucas quickly covered her mouth and pressed her head against his chest. "Stay quiet," he whispered. "Stay with me." Outside, angry voices shouted orders. "Search everywhere. He should be here. Don't let him escape." Lucas's heart raced, but his mind stayed sharp. Years of handling pressure in business had taught him one thing. Panic kills faster than bullets. He reached into his pocket and quietly dialed his security head again. "Sir," the voice answered quickly, breathing hard. "We are engaging them now." "How many?" Lucas whispered. "At least 6 armed men," the guard replied. "They came through the back gate." Lucas closed his eyes for a second. 6. This was not a warning. This was an execution plan. Helen's fingers dug into his arm. "Lucas." "I'm scared," she whispered. "I know," he said softly, "but listen to me. No matter what happens, don't leave my side." Another gunshot rang out, closer this time. A shadow moved across the wall. Footsteps thundered upstairs. "They are inside," a voice shouted. Lucas looked around quickly. The mansion that once felt like a palace now felt like a trap. Then he remembered something, a hidden panic room. He had installed it years ago after a kidnapping threat that never happened. Almost no one knew about it, not even Maya. Lucas leaned close to Helen's ear. "There's a safe room behind my study wall," he whispered. "When I say run, you run with me. Do not stop." Helen nodded, tears in her eyes. The sound of fighting grew louder. Security guards shouted. Furniture crashed. "Now," Lucas said. They ran, bare feet slapped against the cold floor as they dashed through the dark hallway. Lucas led the way, turning sharply into his private study. Bullets hit the wall behind them. They dove inside and Lucas pressed a hidden panel. The wall slid open silently. They rushed in just as the study door burst open. "Where did he go?" one of the attackers yelled. The wall closed. Darkness, silence. Helen collapsed onto the floor, breathing hard. Lucas locked the room from inside. The panic room lights came on softly. Helen began to cry quietly, covering her face. Lucas knelt beside her. "It's okay," he said gently. "You're safe." But even as he said it, he was not fully sure. They listened as the attackers trashed the study outside, angry and confused. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, the sounds changed. Sirens, many sirens. Police sirens. The attackers cursed loudly. "Move! We've been compromised!" Gunfire erupted again, short and wild. Then footsteps ran away. More shouting. Then silence. Lucas stayed still for a long time. Only when his phone buzzed did he move. Security head. "Sir, it's over. Police arrived." 2 attackers arrested. Others escaped. Lucas closed his eyes in relief. He helped Helen up. When they stepped out, the mansion looked like a battlefield. Broken glass everywhere, furniture damaged, bloodstains near the entrance. Police officers filled the house. "Mr. Lucas," an officer said, "you're lucky to be alive." Lucas nodded. "So is she," he said, holding Helen's hand. The officer looked at them closely but said nothing. The next day, the news exploded again. Billionaire survives armed attack linked to wife's murder plot. Lucas hated the headlines, but what scared him more was what the police told him privately. The attackers were hired, the officer said. One of them confessed. The job was paid for months ago. Lucas swallowed hard. "By who?" he asked. The officer hesitated. "They said, the money came through a chain of accounts connected to your wife's past contacts." Lucas felt a cold wave pass through him. Maya, even from prison, even after everything, the danger had followed him. At the hospital, Maya lay weak but awake. A guard stood outside her room. When Lucas walked in, she looked shocked. "You're alive," she whispered. "Yes," Lucas replied calmly, "because someone tried to kill me again last night." Maya's eyes widened. "No, I didn't." Lucas raised his hand. "I know you didn't plan it now," he said, "but your past choices created monsters you can't control." Maya burst into tears. "I ruined everything," she cried. "I didn't know they would come back for you." Lucas looked at her sadly. "This is why I said you must live," he said, "so you can see what greed really destroys." Maya sobbed uncontrollably. Back at the mansion, Helen sat quietly on the sofa, wrapped in a blanket. Lucas sat beside her. "I'm sorry," he said. "My life put you in danger." Helen shook her head. "I chose to stand by you," she said softly, "just like I did that day." Lucas looked at her with deep gratitude. At that moment, he knew something clearly. This was not just love. This was loyalty. 1 week later, security was tighter than ever. The wedding date remained. Some people advised Lucas to postpone it, but Lucas refused. "I will not live in fear," he said. The invitations went out. The venue was prepared, but unknown to everyone. One of the attackers who escaped was still free, and he was watching, waiting, planning. On the night before the wedding, Lucas received a final message from an unknown number. "Tomorrow will not end the way you think." The message stayed on Lucas's phone all night. "Tomorrow will not end the way you think." Lucas did not show it to Helen, not because he did not trust her, but because he did not want fear to steal the joy she deserved. That morning, the sun rose bright and calm, like nothing bad had ever happened. The wedding venue stood tall and beautiful. White flowers filled the air, soft music played. Guests arrived dressed in joy and color. Security was everywhere, inside, outside, on rooftops, at every gate. Lucas stood in a quiet room, dressed in a clean white suit. He looked calm on the outside, but inside he was alert, focused. He checked his phone one last time. Nothing. No new messages. He exhaled slowly. Across the hall, Helen sat with her bridesmaids. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from happiness. She had never imagined this life, never imagined standing where she was now, a poor maid, now a bride. When the music changed, the hall stood still. Helen walked in. Lucas turned, and for a moment the whole world disappeared. She was beautiful, not just in her dress, but in her courage, her kindness, her strength. As she reached him, Lucas whispered, "I'm glad you stayed." Helen smiled. "I'm glad I spoke." The ceremony began. Just as the officiant lifted his voice, a loud shout cut through the hall. "Stop!" Gasps filled the room. Security moved instantly. A man stood near the back, shaking, his eyes wild. "I was paid to kill him," the man screamed, pointing at Lucas. "I was paid months ago." The hall exploded into noise. Security grabbed the man and dragged him forward. Police officers rushed in. The man cried, shaking, "I can't carry it anymore. I was promised money if I kept quiet." The officers questioned him quickly, and then the truth came out. The payment trail, the confessions, the evidence. The man was the last attacker, the one who escaped. He had been hiding, and guilt had followed him to the wedding. The threat was over, for real. The police took him away. The hall went quiet again. Lucas turned to the guests. He raised his hand gently. "Please," he said calmly, "let us continue." And they did. Because fear had lost, the vows were spoken. "I do. I do." Cheers filled the air. Lucas and Helen were married. Days later, the story spread everywhere, not as gossip, but as a lesson. At the hospital prison ward, Maya watched the news quietly. She saw Lucas smiling. She saw Helen standing strong beside him. Tears rolled down her face, not from anger, but regret. When Lucas visited her one last time, she could not lift her head. "I heard everything," she whispered. "The wedding, the attack, the truth." Lucas nodded. "I wanted to tell you something," Maya said, crying. "I finally understand. Greed didn't just try to kill you. It killed the person I used to be." Lucas looked at her with calm eyes. "That understanding," he said, "is the beginning of change. But change does not erase consequences." Maya nodded slowly. "I will live," she said, "and I will carry this lesson." Lucas stood. "I hope others learn from you," he said softly. Years later, Helen sat in Lucas's office, not as a maid, not as a secretary, but as a respected leader beside him. They built schools, they built shelters. They told Helen's story, not to shame the past, but to inspire hope. And whenever someone asked Lucas how he survived betrayal, danger, and loss, he always gave the same answer. "Because a brave woman once told me to shut up and listen." And that made all the difference. If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.